So shines a good deed in a weary world.
Hi, welcome back, Tigers. We're going to concentrate today on the algebra part of Chapter 8 where it involves the quadratic formula. Now, up to this point, we've been showing you how to solve this type of problem as a quadratic formula. However, there is a little shortcut. Now, this shortcut only works if the number in front of x squared is 1. Now, right here, we've discovered that this is 1. That's the one invisible number. And this works 99% of the time. The only time this doesn't work is if this number was more than 1 or less than 1, if it was a decimal, something like that. Okay? But since this is 1, we can do this trick. Watch how we do this. I'm going to set this up into two parentheses. Okay? What makes x squared? X and x. Now, here comes the best part. I'm always going to use the first sign with me. I'm always going to take the first sign in the first set of parentheses, and I'm going to say to myself, a positive times what equals a positive? Well, a positive times a positive. Now, I'm going to go through my list of numbers and say to myself, what makes 18? What two numbers can I multiply to make 18? 18 and 1, 9 and 2, 6 and 3. Now, I'm going to put in that funny looking sign, that plus minus. I'm going to go through my choices now. 16 plus 1. Does it equal 9? No. 18 minus 1. Does it equal 9? No. 9 plus 2? No. 9 minus 2? No. 6 plus 3? 6 plus 3 works. Now, it really doesn't matter if I put the 3 here or the 6 there. It really doesn't matter. Now, what you need to do, as soon as you get to this point, x plus 6, x plus 3, what you need to do is you need to break off this little problem. Okay? I'm going to take this problem here. And it's just like the quadratic formula where we split it into two parts. What plus 6 equals 0? Negative 6. And then I'm going to take this other little problem. X plus 3 equals 0. What plus 3 equals 0? Well, it's negative 3. Now, you've got to make sure when you do this shortcut that 6 plus 3 equals 9. 6 times 3 equals 18. Double check your work. Make sure it works out that way. And 99% of the time, you'll get these types of problems correct. These are our x-intercepts. In the next video, I'm going to show you what happens when you have a positive and a negative. Hi, welcome back, Tigers. In this video, I'm going to show you how you can factor this out without doing the quadratic formula. Now, in the last video, we had a positive and a positive. This time, we have a positive and a negative, and I'm going to show you how this works. Now, first of all, is the number in front of x squared equal to 1? If it is, this trick works 99% of the time. So, let's go through this, shall we? I'm going to put this into two sets of parentheses. What makes x squared? X and x. Now, in the last video I said the first sign always comes with you. So this first sign will come with me. Now I say to myself, a positive times what equals a negative? A positive times what equals a negative? Well, that would be a negative. Now, I need to go through all my choices. What makes 5? Well, there's only one way to make 5 when I multiply numbers. It's 5 and 1. Now, I put that little sign back in, addition or subtraction, and let me go through and ask myself this question. Does 5 plus 1 equal 4? No. Does 5 minus 1 equal 4? Yes. But I need to know where I put those numbers. Here's a trick. Which number is bigger, 5 or 1? 5 is. So 5 will get the first sign. See how we just kind of drag that first sign down? Since 5 is the bigger number, 5 will go there, 1 will go there. Now, we're not done yet. Now that we have these in parentheses, what I need to do is take this little equation, x plus 5 equals 0. Basically, our answer here is negative 5. And what I'm doing here is I'm finding the x-intercepts for this parabola. And then I would take this equation, x minus 1 equals 0. And obviously, 1 minus 1 equals 0. So I know where my parabola will start, and I know where my parabola will finish on the x-axis. So hopefully that helps you. This trick works 99% of the time. In the next video, I'm going to show you what happens when you have two negatives. I have a negative here and a negative here. Hi, welcome back, Tigers. In this video, we're going to talk about what happens when we have two negatives. Now, in the last video, we talked about how we had a positive and a negative. Well, this time, like I said, we have two negatives. And here's what you need to do. Now, this trick works 99% of the time. So, the first thing I need to say is there a 1 in front of x squared? Yes, there is. So, I can do this shortcut. Watch how this works. I'm going to make my two set of parentheses. What times what equals x squared? Well, obviously, it's x and x. Now, in the last two segments, I kept telling you the first sign comes with you. Well, it's the same. Now, I say to myself, what times a negative is negative? What times a negative is negative? A negative times a positive is negative. Now, what I need to do is go through all of my choices that make 16. 16 times 1. I've got 4 times 4. I've got 8 times 2. Are there any other numbers that I could possibly think of? No, there's not. So let's go through our choices, shall we? We want something that adds or subtracts up to 6. So 16 plus 1? No. 16 minus 1? No. 4 plus 4? 4 minus 4. 8 plus 2? What about 8 minus 2? 8 minus 2 is 6. Now, you're saying to yourself, but Mr. Gupton, I don't know where to put the 8. I don't know where to put the 2. Well, I already know that it's going to be 8 and 2. All I have to do is ask you, which number is bigger? The 8 is bigger, so the bigger number gets the first sign. So 8 goes here, 2 goes there. Okay? Now, let me erase this. We are not done yet. Why? Because what we need to do is take this little equation like we have, equals 0. Now, a lot of you have already said to yourself, do I really need to write this step? No, you don't. If you know that you need to flip the sign, flip the sign. So, and then obviously I would flip the sign here, and my parabola on the x-axis will start at negative 2, and it'll go until positive 8. So hopefully that helps you. This trick works, like I said, 99% of the time. The only time it doesn't work is if this number in front of x squared is more than 1, or if it's less than 1, like a decimal. Now in the last segment, I'm going to show you what happens when we have a negative and a positive. Hi, welcome back, Tigers. In this last segment, I'm going to show you what happens when we have a negative and we have a positive. Now, up to this point, we've been doing the quadratic formula. Now, you can do this little shortcut if and only if the number in front of x squared is equal to 1. It works 99% of the time. Let's do the shortcut, shall we? What makes x squared? X and x. I'm going to take that first sign with me. And basically, what's going to happen here is this. A negative times what equals a positive? A negative times a negative. Now, I need to go through all of my ways that I can multiply numbers to get 28. I could do 28 and 1. I could do 7 and 4. I could do 12. Can I really do 12? Don't think so. Can I do 2 and 14? Are there any other choices that I could possibly do? No, I don't think so. So let's go through our choices and figure out which numbers we have. Now, as we start going through these numbers, 28 plus 1? No. 28 minus 1? No. 7 plus 4? 7 plus 4 make 11. So right here, it works. Now, I'm not done yet. And a lot of you have already picked up on this. As soon as you've got your numbers in these parentheses, what you need to do is set it up as x minus 7 equals 0. Or what you can do is just, since this is negative 7, it becomes positive 7. Since this is negative 4, it becomes positive 4. And there's where my parabola starts, and that's where my parabola finishes, on the x-axis. Hopefully this helps you. Now, in the last segment, I said this was the last one, but I want to pose a little question to you. What happens when you see the type of problem I will show you in a little bit? Hi, welcome back, Tigers. If you've been watching all of these segments in a row, I have said 99% of the time a lot. Well, instead of going back to find out how many times I actually said it, I want to pose this question to you. What happens when you have a type of problem that looks like this? Now, as you start going through this, obviously we start breaking this apart. X and X. First sign comes with me. A negative times what equals a positive? A negative times a negative. Now, as I start going through all my choices that make 24. 24 and 1. 8 and 3. 12 and 2. And 6 and 4. Now, if I start going through my choices, I'm posed with a dilemma. 24 plus 1 does not equal 10. 24 take away 1 does not equal 10. So let's cross that off. 8 plus 3. No. 8 minus 3. No. So let's cross that off. Now we're sitting there. 12 plus 2 does not make 10. But 12 minus 2 does. And 6 plus 4 makes 10, but 6 minus 4. So I'm really left with two sets of numbers. I really don't know which one it is. Now, my advice to you is this. Whenever you get stuck and you don't know what set of numbers to use, go back and use the quadratic formula. The quadratic formula works 100% of the time. And I know what you're saying, but Mr. Gupton, you said this works if the number in front of x squared is equal to 1. Yes, that's true. However, in this situation, sometimes you're left with two choices. Okay? So my advice to you is please go back and use the quadratic formula and figure out what numbers you should have used.
Adieu, adieu. Parting is such sweet sorrow.